found not one, but two God tier worthy books in October. Pierce Brown, when I see you, it's on sight. Hello book besties, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bailey and I like to read a little bit. It's time to talk about all the books that I read in October, and it was a very busy month. October was objectively the best reading month I've had all year. Now there was a month, I believe it was June or July, maybe, where I had nothing less than a 4-star, and that is an amazing month. Hands down, that's one of the best months I had this year too. But I found not one, but two God tier worthy books in October. That is so rare. Last year, I only had one God tier series, and that was the Legacy series by Melissa K. Rorick. This year, however, I have now had 3 additions to the God tier list. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm so happy, but it's also taking over my life. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk about all the books that I read in October. I total read 9 books, DNF'd 1. I'm so ready to yap. I've been waiting all week for this. The first book that I picked up in October was a highly anticipated book for me. It was a sequel to a book that I loved this year and rated 5 stars. And what do you know? I loved the second book too. It was Princess of Blood by Sarah Hawley. This is the second book in the Shards of Magic series by Sarah Hawley. So in this series, our FMC Kenna, she is a human. She's from the human lands that border the Fae lands. Okay, nobody knows anything about the Fae. They haven't been seen in years and years and years. But every so often, there are human people that get chosen to be a gift to the Fae. Nobody knows what happens after they're given a gift. I don't know why they think it's a good idea to do that, but they do it. When her best friend gets chosen, Kenna's like, no, absolutely not. And so she decides she's going to go after her. But also at the very beginning of the book, she finds this dagger that is not what it seems. So then she has to navigate her way through the Faelands, and it's very, very good. This is fantasy romance, fantasy forward. I loved book 2 more than I loved book 1, which I didn't think was possible. They were both 5 stars for me. So yes, first book of the month was a 5-star. That is so slay. The ending of this book really leaves me questioning where we are going to go next. This is fantasy romance done correctly. You've got the political intrigue. Kenna is one of my favorite FMCs of the year. I say it every time I bring up this series. I adore her. And the MMC in this book made me squeal. This is slow burn. And I mean it when I say slow burn, like a torturous slow burn, and it is so good. If you were wondering about picking up the series, I do recommend it. Also, I love how these books look. They're small hardbacks and there's no dust jacket. Like, this is just the book. More publishers need to do this. It's so cute. So 5 stars for the first book of the month. That's amazing. I need to move the books out of the way because this next one's a big old bitch. I bet you can guess what I'm going to bring up. This next book is one of the ones that was God tier for me, and it indeed was Alchemized by SenLinYu. Here's the thing. A lot of people have asked me, can you read this without reading Manacled? I highly recommend reading this without reading Manacled. I did read Manacled years ago when it was still on AO3, and Manacled was God tier for me. SenLinYu has completely separated from the Harry Potter world, which is amazing, okay? This is not an account that supports J.K. Rowling or anything that she does. Absolutely not. I highly recommend reading Alchemized and supporting this one. Now, don't get me wrong, Manacled is a masterpiece, but this is better. I have not stopped thinking about this book since I read it, and also the dust jacket keeps trying to come off. I need it to stop. I tabbed it a lot. I did a full reading vlog of Alchemized on my channel. Like I said, it completely took over my life. I cried. It is so hard for me to cry in a book. It is not common. It takes a lot. And this made me cry 3 times total. This book is not an escape. Not at all. It directly parallels the world that we live in now. It hurts so badly. There was so much to do with corruption in religion, corruption in power. There was so much to do with racism and elitism and people thinking that they know best and think that they're doing good whenever really they're just hurting everyone. This is very, very dark. So please, I'm telling you, check your trigger warnings before you read this. The love story was beautiful. It was heartbreaking. All the callbacks from all 3 parts, the little web that SenLinYu weaved, they did amazing. They did an amazing job with this book, and it was just perfect. It is very political. It is very corrupt. It is very dark. I think that this is such an important book. I'm not even kidding. The parallels to the world that we live in is insane. It was so insane. It made me so sad. I don't know. This book just means so much to me. It's so hard to articulate how I'm feeling about this book, you know? It's just, there's so many different things. I am not the most well-spoken by any means, but I feel like this book took a part of me and it didn't give it back. Cain was not a perfect character. He was very morally black. You will question so many of the decisions that he makes. Helena also morally gray. There were things that she did and I was like, girl, but I mean, what do you expect whenever you're in the middle of a war and you have no one? The manipulation that happened to Helena, this entire book made me rage. Oh my God, it made me rage. I love this book. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stars. Infinity stars. It's God tier and it's never gonna leave. And I love it. That's my thoughts on Alchemized. After Alchemized, I was like, okay, so maybe if I read something spicy, I won't slump because I could feel the book slump coming. I did myself a disservice because I picked up Trick by Natalia Jaster. This is the book that I DNF'd this month. I just was bored. I was just like, how can I go from this masterpiece to this? I did it a disservice, okay? So this may not be a bad book. A lot of people do like this book. It was 100% my fault. This is a spicy spicy fantasy between a court jester and a princess. It was just too spicy, and I get it. It was supposed to be. This court was very, very based on desire and things like that, and so I understand why it was as spicy as it was in the beginning. It wasn't necessarily our FMC. All the thoughts and the things she was saying and everything, I was like, I don't care about this. Not after reading this. So that's my fault. So this was a DNF. I apologize. I'm so sorry because you're so pretty. That was my bad. So after that, I was like, okay, we have to completely genre change. There is no way in hell I'm going to break out of this slump if I don't genre change. So I started the Unmissing by Minka Kent. This was good. A thriller will always pull me out of a slump. I don't know why I didn't go straight into a thriller after Alchemized. That was a dumb thing of me to do. The Unmissing is a very, very quick, I think it's like less than 300 pages, psychological thriller. There are 2 women that we follow in this book, and one of the FMCs, she went missing 10 years ago on a hike. Okay, her husband looked for her, everything, nobody could find her, whatever. The other one is the now current wife of said husband. And one night when the new wife's husband is out of town, the old wife, after 10 years of being missing, everybody thinking she's dead, comes to her front door and is like, where's my husband? I was taken. I made it out alive. And the new wife is like, oh my God, I don't believe her. You know, obviously she's panicking. I would panic. That would be insane. She is pregnant. She's building her family. Like, absolutely not. This is my life now, bitch. What are you doing here? But it's a tricky situation. This was so entertaining. I was entertained. I read this in less than 24 hours. It was fun. It was exactly what I needed to pull me out of a slump. I rated it 3.5 stars. I figured out some of the end of the plot, but the other half of it, I was like, I did not see this. I had a great time with it. It did what I needed it to do. Would recommend. After that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna read another thriller because I wasn't quite sure if it did fully bust me out of my slump because Alchemized really did a number on me, okay? So I went into The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I did enjoy this. It was so entertaining. I feel like I'm one of the last people to read this book too. So many people recommended it to me whenever I asked for thriller recs, and they were not lying. I don't want to tell you too much about this one because I went into it completely blind. Like, I did not read the blurb. All you need to know is our FMC lost her husband in the lake. He dead now. And there are neighbors that are moving in and they're all rich. They all have money. The things that happen around the lake are a little spooky. It was so fun going into it blind. I rated this 4 stars. I did not see the ending coming hardly at all. Shook me. I do think I need to stop reading the blurb whenever I read a thriller because this was really fun to go into blind. Now it is time to talk about the other series or book. Well, Alchemized isn't a series, it's a standalone. The other books that made it into God tier. This is indeed something that my husband picked for my TBR. And I think you know what I'm about to say. I was so scared to pick up Red Rising by Pierce Brown. It has taken over my entire life. It is all I can think about. And I do in fact have a vlog coming next week for you guys of me reading the original Red Rising trilogy, all 3 of the first books. I have never read a sci-fi book, which is really, really shocking to me because I was such a Star Wars girly growing up. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Daddy Wan Kenobi, he meant everything to me. Anakin, all of them. I loved Star Wars so much growing up. So it's not a shock that I would love this series, right? But it was very daunting. If you were wanting to get into sci-fi or if you wanted to read the Red Rising series because so many people are picking it up for the first time right now too, I think you should. This is so fast paced. The plot is insane. It just keeps getting better and better. None of your favorite characters are safe. That is a daunting part. Pierce Brown, when I see you, it's on sight. I mean, like, I will thank you. But then, you know, book 1 was not 5 stars for me. Now that I'm attached to the characters, it would be. I'm not going back to change it because it was a 4.5 star for me. So this takes place on Mars and you have a color system, like a color class system. Reds are at the bottom. Golds are at the top. Darrow, our MMC, he is at the bottom. And something happens, something very, very bad happens, and he ends up having to infiltrate the golds. And it goes from there. I did the dramatized audio with the original trilogy. I immersive read it all and it was so good. I cannot stop thinking about these characters. I'm going off on a tangent here because I just love it so much. The first book is very much setting up for the rest. It is so fast paced. It kind of took me by surprise. And at times it was a little too fast paced, if that makes sense. So it wasn't perfect to me, but by the end of this book, I was hooked and I was very connected with the characters. Not as connected as I am now because I didn't know as much about them, but like I loved Darrow by this point and I loved other characters in these books, right? So then I immediately ordered and went into Golden Sun. This is one of the most perfect books I have ever read in my life. The pacing and this one was a little bit too fast. This was still fast paced, but it was perfect. You can see how much he grew as a writer in between these books. And when I tell you, I met some of my favorite characters of all time in this book. The world expands. You get to see more of the trauma that these people have caused on the people underneath them. You're seeing Darrow as his morally gray self because at times he does things that you don't agree with. Darrow is sassy and a drama queen and very, very smart. And sometimes he's an unreliable narrator. And so it's like shocking every turn. Oh my God. And the ending of this book was one of I cannot imagine having read this whenever Morningstar was not out yet. Are you kidding me? That cliffhanger? Oh my God. I was gasping. I was gasping for air. There were so many revelations in like the last, I don't know, 100 pages of this book. 5 stars, 6 stars. This book is what made me realize, oh yeah, this is gonna be God tier. And then I went into Morningstar. I have not cried the way that I cried in this book in a very long time. Alchemized made me cry. I was straight-faced tears rolling down whenever I was reading Morningstar. 5 stars, 6 stars, the same. Even more expanded world, but honestly, this is just emotional damage. But here's the thing. I think if you are wanting to read Red Rising, because my original plan was to read the first OG trilogy because Morningstar is a really good stopping point. You can stop reading after Morningstar if you're not ready for the second arc yet, or if you don't even want to read the second arc yet, because it was written like that. And then Pierce Brown decided he wanted to continue the series, and that's whenever the second arc came out. But I don't think you're going to be able to. I'm not. I already ordered the second arc. I'm going to be reading it very, very soon. I can't stop thinking about them. They are everything to me. I just want you to know that I love, 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 love this trilogy. I have found a new favorite series of all time. This is God tier. The Found Family in this series is one of my favorite found families I have ever read. This is definitely in my top 3 favorite out of all of my God tier books, which they're all pretty even kilter, but this has like pushed and shoved everything out of the way. I love it so much. After that, we went back to the TBR, which technically Red Rising was the TBR, the first book at least, right? I read the book club pick of the month, which was Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair. Here's the thing. I told you guys before, Scarlett St. Clair's FMCs and I don't really always see eye to eye. This was good. I rated it 2.5 stars. I know. I was going back and forth in between 2.5 and 3, and I ended up going with 2.5. I really like the world that it's set in. I love the cult-like religion that's in this book. I love reading about how corrupt it is and how we're gonna bring it down, but I feel like we didn't get enough of it. I wanted more of the plot. There are gonna be people that say this is a slow burn. I really don't think it is. I feel like if we had gotten more of their backstory instead of just being thrown in and her being like, he's never looked at me that way, but I've always like, there's so much history that they have that we don't know about. And I feel like we needed that in order to feel as deeply as they did about each other. I don't know, but I just didn't really like the characters. I liked the world. I didn't like the characters. I won't be continuing the series. I don't know. I didn't like it. I'm sorry. And then I read one more book in October. I read None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I really, really liked Lisa Jewell's writing style. I did not want to put this book down. I was so entertained the entire time. This is more of like a psychological thriller mystery in a way. In this one, we follow 2 FMCs. They're both 45, born on the same day in the same hospital, but they live very, very different lives. Alex is a very successful woman. She has 2 children. She has a successful podcast. She has a husband who loves her, but goes on benders sometimes. They're having some marital difficulties, right? Josie, on the other hand, is married to an old man. I think he was like 40 something, and she was 16 when they got together. It's a whole thing. And Josie's like, I want to tell my story to Alex on her podcast. I'm gonna make my life new. I'm starting something new and I want to talk about it. And Alex is in a rut and she's like, you know what? That sounds great. Let's do it. Things get really freaking weird. That's as much as I'm gonna tell you. I rated it 4 stars. I really, really liked it. I will be reading more Lisa Jewell. That is an insane reading month. We had 2 God tiers, Red Rising and Alchemized. We had 9 books total read, 1 book DNF, whatever, it's fine. We DNF, we move on. I don't know how any other month is going to top this. Although I do plan on reading, like I said, the second arc of Red Rising soon. So I feel like that that's gonna be a pretty good month. All in all, I enjoyed almost every single book that I read, which is ultimately the goal. I wanna know what your favorite read of October was. I know a lot of people read Alchemized, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you say Alchemized because same. Also read Rising though. I just wanna know what your favorite read was in October. I'm always here for some book racks. I'm really, really hoping that November is going to be just as good. I'm not gonna say it's not because that's manifesting the wrong thing. We're going to say it's going to be just as good. I'm gonna quit yapping. I'm gonna go read. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I love you guys so, so much, and I will see y'all next week.